Let us pray. Eternal Father in heaven, we thank you for this opportunity once again to come before you on behalf of your people. Father, we pray this evening that as we come together that the things that we do will be pleasing in thy sight. We pray, O Lord, that you would grant us all that we need in decision making and to make the best decisions for all the things that are before us. Father, we just pray a special blessing upon this great nation, upon this state, upon this county. We ask that you would bless us, to anoint us with the things that you would have us to have, to the tools that we need to work with, that we'll be a blessing to all that we serve. Father God, we just pray a blessing upon our soldiers, our troops, wherever they may be, men and women fighting wherever they are, whether near or whether far. Father, we just pray that your blessings be upon them, that you will guide them and direct them, and that you would bless their families while they're away. Father, we just ask these blessings and give you the honor, the praise, and the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good to see everyone here tonight. All right, we're ready to do the roll call. Listen. Did Mark's work? Did he get it work? Okay. All right. All right, you did. Let's have the count, please. 21. Okay. Before we approve the agenda, there's just one item we want to do down here under new business, E and F. We want to switch E and F around. We want to put F first and then E. With that, I'd like to have a motion to approve this agenda with that one change. All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to look at the previous minutes? If so, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. All right, do we have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? All right, let's vote, please. Oh, well, hold on a minute. Hold on. I'm getting a little too fast for him. He has to. Are you good? All right. Okay, we're waiting on Rush. All right, let's have the vote, please. Okay. Ms. Patton?
Number 7, resolution of memorial sympathy and commendation. We do have a presentation to two gentlemen. They were, 8-year-old Parker was trapped in a car when he and his mom were in an accident. I think it was Sunday before last, on the 17th. The mother was unable to get Parker up from the car, but two gentlemen, Kirk Rutland and Jason Little. And we would like for those two gentlemen, the Parker family, and all the firemen to come up, please.
Come up to the front here.
Mayor Superstein, do you want to come up too with the, for the firemen, with the firemen?
Okay, we have spoken with the fire department. We'd like to kind of go before you. Son, come up here with me.
We've also notified that the meeting was on fire. A few minutes later, we've also notified them that the grant is being after the call was received, firefighter arrived on scene approximately 4 minutes. Patients were at, other than that. And other than that also. The patient was brought out by two gentlemen, Mr. Little and Mr. Rutland. At the time that the firefighter arrived on scene, if there had been any more patients in the vehicle, loss of life would have been most definite. So what these two gentlemen did was a good heroic effort to save this young man's life, and that's why we're here before you to give some flags. And I think Mayor here's got a certificate for you.
Would you like to do the flag?
On behalf of Manchester Fire and Rescue, we would like to present Mr. Jason Little with this plaque of recognition for his bravery. We're very fortunate to have people like Mr. Little. We're very fortunate to have people like Mr. Little and Mr. Rutland in our community. And on behalf of Manchester Fire and Rescue, we would like to present Mr. Little with a plaque, and it reads, Manchester Fire and Rescue recognizes Jason Little for his outstanding act of heroism and bravery following an automobile accident June 17, 2012.
Well, we have one more for you. It says certificate of commendation is presented to Kirk Rutland for heroic measures to rescue Parker Jones. And again, we thank him also. Okay. Okay, so, okay, you'll get it to him, and we'll get the fire department to get this to him, too. All right, thank you. Well, thank God for citizens like that. All right. Roxanne, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Number 8, notaries. Joe Lynn Amalang, Phyllis Brooks, Carla Ladd, Jeremy B. Bell, Christy D. Burdette, James D. Lane, Barbara C. Miller, Kimberly L. Fender, Brenda P. Smith.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Any discussion? If not, let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. 21 yes. Okay, Ms. Patton.
I don't have anything else.
Give him time to get the header on it. And he's gonna leave it up there just for a minute.
Okay. Number 9, reports, county officials, standing and special committees. A, annual debt report. This is required by the debt management policy.
In the month of June, when we're wrapping up the budget, you'll get a report, the annual debt report, and I put a copy of it on your desk. It just calculates our net debt per capita, our debt as percent of personal income, and you can read all down through there in the calculations. And this will be part of our budget process. It'll be included every June. So if there's anything you want added, just let me know. Something else you think would be good to have as a benchmark figure, just let me know and we'll put it in there.
Okay, we need to get a motion and a second to accept this report, then we got any questions or discussion, we'll do it. I'll entertain a motion to accept this.
Move to accept.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Now, any discussion on it? If not, let's vote, please. All right, let's have a count, please. 21 yes. Okay. We'll give him just a minute, and he'll leave them up there so the public can see how everybody voted. Okay.
Number 10, I don't have any unfinished business.
Okay.
Number 11, A, transfer $24,000 from the Rural Capital Projects Fund to the Wayside Acres Operations account 259.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to do that.
I so move.
And a second.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? And Commissioner Duckett, would you like to speak on this?
Yes, we had asked for the $24,000, not necessarily in a lump sum. We would be able to handle $2,000 a month for 12 months so that we didn't deplete the fund, that this money is coming from. So if we can do that, that'll suit us okay.
All right. Any other discussion?
Mr.
Brown?
Chairman, also discussed with this in Budget and Finance was that when we originally put monies in to help with the Wayside Acres situation, one of the provisions of that was that it would be recovered in fees to the users. And what I'd like added to the minutes on this and part of the motion here is a repayment of this money to the Rural Capital Projects Fund from fees within 2 years of the time that we do this.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, can we get, I guess, just to help some people in the audience, just a quick summary of what the funds are used for? Because I know there's a lot of people here tonight that may not understand exactly what we're moving $24,000 for, if anybody has the ability to do that.
The money will be used to correct some deficiencies in the sewer system out there that was caused by not being properly installed. The in-leakage problem that we have into the tanks is putting so much water in that the system is overloaded, and we can't bring any more customers online until we get that problem corrected. So this is going to mean that about 57 of the tanks out there will have to be worked on and this problem corrected. So what we're trying to do is bring some more customers on, but of course we're trying to get our system working right too. But once we get the unleakage down, then we can bring on several more customers. I mean, we'll do so. Those will be paying customers, of course, to help offset the debt.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? If not, let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. Okay. Give them a minute, so leave it up there so the public can see how they voted. You ready? Okay. Ms. Patton, are we ready to do the B?
Budget amendments.
The budget amendments, the first 13, 13, 14, and 15, and 16. What we're doing is combining our rural debt service funds. Right now we have 4, and it's become kind of a cash flow issue with one of the funds, and we felt like it would be more efficient to put them all in one and pay our debt out of one. And so that's what these transfers are for, is to close out 154, 156, and Fund 158, and move the money into 152. And then the last one is 101-2012, number 17. That one is increase in data entry fees, $5,415, and increased circuit court other charges. That's actually a reserve account, $5,415.
Okay, and they have been through Budget and Finance.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. They were approved on June 19th.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. Okay. Give it just a minute so the public can see how everybody voted. Okay. Okay, Ms. Patton?
Okay, C, school budget amendments.
Okay. is-
Federica?
Yes, and she can come to the podium there and read her amendments.
We have two school budget amendments, one dated June the 11th and one dated June the 19th. The budget amendment dated June the 11th has not been approved by Budget and Finance. I failed to take that one to Budget and Finance. You do have it in your packet. Budget and Finance has approved the one dated June the 19th. It was just an oversight on my part. I don't usually have two amendments going to Budget and Finance. The one dated June the 11th I will go over. We are moving $65,000, increasing contracted services 71200-399 in special education program, and we're moving the money from the regular instruction program 71100-116 teachers. We're decreasing 30,000. 71100-204 state retirement, we're decreasing 9,000. In vocational education 71300-116 teachers, we're decreasing 18,000. And 72210-129 librarians, we're decreasing 8,000, which is a total of 65,000. And I have an explanation there, and that's 65,000 that we need to increase the contracted services line.
Okay. Do you want to vote on just one amendment each? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve this budget amendment. Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. Now, any discussion? If not, let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. Okay. All right, let's give it a minute. Just make sure the public sees how everybody voted. Okay, let's go to the next amendment. We're still on both of those amendments. Now, Ken, you got one more.
Okay, the next one, June 19th, has been approved by Budget and Finance. On this amendment, I'm doing two things. One thing, I am increasing the medical insurance line in the regular instruction program, and I'm increasing revenue and an expenditure line for salaries. In doing this, I'm taking money from the undesignated fund balance of $54,500. I'm increasing receipts from individual schools, $30,000. That $30,000, I am using almost $11,000 of that. If you would go down to student body education and 71400-189, and then the benefit lines underneath that, I'm increasing $9,800 for the other salary and wages, Social Security $315, state retirement $600, and employment Medicare $7,500. This is where we pay for extra bus trips and extra labor and then the revenue comes in from the schools and outside sources. The other 19,000 of that is going on the 711000207 medical insurance line, that $108,000, plus the 54,500 from undesignated fund balance, and then the decreases on all the other lines of 34,300 to cover the 108,010 on the medical insurance line. Have any questions on that?
Well, let's get a motion in a second here. Can we get a
Okay.
motion?
So moved.
How about a second? Thank you. Now, let's get into discussion or questions. Any questions? Any discussion?
No, ma'am. Right. All this has been reflected also in the budget for 2012 and the expenditures for 2011-12. It's all reflected in those figures. This has been approved by Budget and Finance, yes. Yes.
Any other questions? All right, question's been called. Let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. 21, yes. Okay, let's wait just a minute. Okay.
Mayor, I don't
Yes.
think it got up to your podium, but Frederica, right before the meeting, asked if we would consider in the budget that's before us doing I call it a budget housekeeping item regarding moving a revenue and an expenditure, modifying it, because it's on the HVAC system project that she's going to get, the school's going to get done and get all the bills in before the end of June, and therefore she doesn't need it in her 2012-13 budget. And I don't have any trouble with it, so, because if we don't want to approve it tonight, it's just going to have to come back before this
Would you
vote.
like to make that as a motion,
I
Commissioner?
make a motion that we, well, we can do it either way. This would clarify it, so we don't have to deal with it then,
Yeah.
Mark, so,
If we could get a second here now.
okay.
Second.
Thank you. Now,
But anyway, does everybody get this handout passed to them? I mean, it's, Frederica, you want to talk about it? I mean, maybe I don't want to.
Well, but all it's going to do is, I had budgeted $400,000 for bond revenue and then $400,000 in an expenditure and capital outlay. I don't need that because at the time I budgeted, I didn't know at what stage we would be on June 30 with the HVAC system. I don't need the revenue or the expenditure in next year's budget, so I was just asking that we remove that because
Okay.
it's just going to overstate the budget.
Okay.
It's on page 40 and page 56. Those two items, if you look at those lines, you'll see them in there. That $400,000 in those lines will just be deleted and not included in the 2012 budget. So on page 40 and page 56.
Page 40? Oh, you're a big budget. Okay. I see, and I reference different page numbers, which, I'm sorry, that probably throws you off because you have a different
Any other
page number.
questions or discussion about it? Has everybody had a chance to look at page 40 and what, page 56? Okay. If not, let's vote, please. All right, let's have the count. 21, yes. Leave it up just for a minute. I believe that's gonna get you, isn't it?
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, are you ready, Ken? All right, Ms. Patton?
D, 2013 proposed budget.
Let's get us a, if we're gonna discuss it, let's get us a motion in a second here. Maybe Rush can speak to it.
I move that it be approved.
Thank you. Second?
I second.
Thank you. Now, discussion?
I need to ask an obvious question. Is the 400,000, does that reduce by 400,000 the school board's budget?
Does reduce both the revenues and the expenditures. So it's not a net fund.
Any questions, discussion?
I guess I have a question. Mr.
Okay.
Mayor. I just want to make sure I understand the numbers that we're looking at, and I'm going to be off by the $400,000. But total for the county budget's like $27,278,000, round numbers. An additional school budget of $34 million.
Commissioner, where you reading that from so that Mariana can follow you? What?
You'd have to look at the totals on the pages. I've got my own
Oh, okay.
calculation sheet. There's in the school budget $34,045,000. I understand that's going to be $400,000 less than that. The central cafeteria at $2,648,000. That brings that portion to $36,700,000 roughly. And for the county and school system together, about $63,900,000. Take 400, so $63,500,000 rough
Okay.
numbers.
Okay.
Is that about right, Marianne? And if I look at that, the only major increases from last year, and I'll not discuss school one way or the other in that side of it, but in the rest of it, ambulance authority went up $300,000. County buildings about $69,000. County clerk about $50,000. Probation about $40,000. Sheriff about $97,000. The jail $142,000. I'd have to look at the number I just put down. Health, but $84,000. And the other charges was about $301,000, and that is the portion that went to increased liability insurance and workers' comp. And those were the big numbers that I saw that were over $25,000, sort of what I screened for and looking at them. So if we are going to make this a no-tax budget, we need about $300,000 out of those plus-ups as I see it. Most of the others had drops in their overall budget as I look through it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Alford?
Point of information.
Okay.
Hey, Russ, the 400,000 that was proposed in the education budget, is there any ADA monies that, no match funds in that 400,000? Okay.
Any other questions?
Rush, last year, do you recall, it was probably about 16 months ago, we were presented with a resolution to consider funding a position in this upcoming budget, which is this year's budget. It had to do with, I believe, UT Ag Extension, and we agreed to examine that going into this year's budget cycle, and if we could afford it without it impacting or causing any kind of tax increases. I think we had spoke about it, or we discussed it that night, saying that we'd at least consider it, and I guess it's probably been considered. And is that reflected in here, that the position?
I'm going to actually, Bobby, I know when it came up through Budget and Finance on the staffing of the Agricultural Extension Service and UT, when it came up, we were hoping to get some staffing help from what, University of?
Actually, TSU, Tennessee State University, picked up on that position in a similar fashion that the University of Tennessee had previously. And so that was something that had been hoped for and came to fruition, and they actually picked up the position and to fund the position similar to what University of Tennessee had previously.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? If not, let's vote, please.
What are we voting on, Mr. Mayor?
Budget?
I make a motion to table and send back to Budget and Finance for any other consideration. Bring back as a balanced budget.
Second.
Well, okay. So we can't discuss it, we're just gonna have to vote on it. We'll have to vote on his motion to table. And if, if his motion passes, then we have to table it. Let's vote, okay. Of course, if you vote yes, I guess we should have explained that you're voting. If you vote yes, you're voting to table it.
Can I point out that it says we're voting on the budget, not voting on whether we tabled the budget? Maybe that's...
Well, speak.
Motion to
Let him
table,
speak.
motion to table, motion to send back to Budget and Finance.
Right, but
But-
what I'm
Or-
reading up there is it says that we're voting on the budget, and I just want to make sure that what we're voting on is
I
not...
got you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
appreciate
Okay,
that.
let the parliamentarian, he wants to.
Virgil, we have a similar situation to what we had last month. The motion to table puts it on the table. And so it's done with till you take it off the table. Now, if you want it to go back to Budget and Finance, that's actually a motion to refer. And you can do a motion to refer where you say refer it back to Budget
Sure,
and
let's do that. Motion to refer back to Budget and Finance for consideration to bring back a balanced budget.
Okay. That,
Withdraw the motion to table.
okay, that needs
Okay,
a
who
second,
seconded
and
that?
can be discussed.
Okay, you second it. Okay, now he said this can be discussed since it's a motion to, okay, instead of tabling it, we're doing a motion to, okay.
I'll second Mr.
Well,
Mahoney's
wait a minute, it's
motion.
kinda hard for us to discuss since we're already voting here. So what?
No, he withdrew the motion. to
Okay, he
table.
withdrew it, so we just need to clear off the voting. Okay. Clear that off, Ken. We're into discussion. Huh? Just let him, can you take it off without him finishing it? Okay. He said you're gonna have to finish what you're doing here, but it's not gonna, if they finish it, how can we?
It's just, he just needs to let him finish the process, but it's a nullified vote.
Okay,
because
it's
the
a
motion
nullified
was-
vote. Okay, go ahead and
Right.
finish the process. Okay.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure. That's what we got him here for.
Mr. Chairman, are we in discussion mode on referring this
Yes, we are.
back to Budget and Finance?
If you'll let me just get this, let's go ahead and clear that off and let's go on into discussion, because this don't matter anyway on this. Go ahead, Commissioner
Well, the
Brown.
only comment I had to make is, we're here and paid by the taxpayers to discuss this budget. And I'm a little bit surprised at how quickly discussion is being cut off in regard to the budget. That's rather surprising to me, but of course, if it's going to be referred back to Budget and Finance, that's fine if that's the wishes of the commission. And it's been worked on quite extensively. I'd be interested in hearing some of the suggestions for, of course, part of the motion was to have a balanced budget or no tax increase. And I'd be interested in hearing from any commissioners some suggestions about doing that and what they propose to do.
If we could, let's clear this off so we can type it up on this, this motion in second. If you don't mind, go ahead and vote this out and get this out of our way. Commissioner Duncan, Mr. Bryant. We just want to go ahead and vote any way you want to. It's a dead issue on this part anyway. So he can go ahead and get the other box back up here. Ms. Thomas? Yeah, that's good, Commissioner. We want you, all right, let's go ahead and clear that off. Okay. Now, let's get the right box in there. Refer back to budget and finance, okay. That's right.
Can I ask something?
Yes, ma'am.
If we're taking $400,000 out of the education part because she asked us to, does that not lower the 4 cents or whatever?
Commissioner Bricken, speak to that, please.
Janet, again, I'm sorry that came up so quickly, but the 400 was a bond revenue and a HVAC system equipment issue. It had nothing to do with fund balance or taxes. It was just, they're going to get that project done and closed out before the end of June, and therefore they don't need it in their next year's budget. But the net effect of it has zero impact on taxes. It's just a bond and a capital movement money.
Not bonds from here, it's bonding from the state. Not bonds to do with anything from here.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, I was just going to, again, for the sake of tonight, to make the benefit of the night's meeting, and I'm following up with what Bobby's saying, if after a discussion on either this budget or Resolution 19, which is coming up next, if the commission wants to refer this back after that discussion, I'm all for it. But I think we should use this forum to try to get those issues out on the table, because if we don't have any other suggestions or opinions, then we're going to be pretty much back the same way we are unless we find some money between there and the July 20 whatever.
Commissioner Alford.
And when is our,
excuse
excuse me,
me.
when is our next July meeting exactly? I can't remember. July 10th. Okay.
No, it's the last Tuesday in July.
Last Tuesday of July, so Roxanne thinks it's the 24th, but somebody got a calendar? Is it right? 24th? Okay. All right, let's let,
Ms.
Commissioner Bricken, are you through? Commissioner Alford.
Mariana, could you go through and run the various tax rates and the increases and publicly acknowledge what each one of those are that's included into this budget, so that folks in the audience, folks at home, understand whether it stays the same, whether there's an increase, and share that information so that we have it totally out in the public where everybody knows exactly what the increases or decreases are in the next year's budget.
He's working on it, Commissioner.
In the current year we're in right now, the tax rate is as follows. 0.8238 general fund, 1.649 cents school, general debt service, 0.1091. That's a total of 2.5825. Education debt service, 0.0747. Rural property tax, rural debt service, 0.1311. Solid waste, 0.1845. Coffee County Industrial Park tax, 0.28. That makes a total tax of 3.2528. Current budget, as you have before you, has a 4 cents increase in it. The general fund is 0.7325. We have moved the ambulance operations to their own fund and will need 0.0584 to help balance that. School purposes, 1.6496. General debt service, 0.1791. Education debt service, 0.0747. Rural debt, 0.1311. Solid waste sanitation, 0.1845. Coffee County Industrial Park, 0.28. That's a total of 3.2899. Oops, wait a minute. Hold on just a second. The general debt, I think I made a... That is, it's 0.7354. I think I was off on the decimal. That makes a total of 3.2828. That makes a total of 3.2928.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Ms. Edinger, on the, can you give us the total uniform property tax with the 4 cents? You said currently it's 4 cents, correct? Give us what the total uniform property and then the Manchester and then the rural rates would be.
The uniform tax rate would be 2.6225. Manchester City, 2.6972. Rural property tax, 3.0128. The industrial park, 3.2928.
Could you do one other thing for us? Could you reflect any increases or decreases from that within that line, within that property tax that you just mentioned for each one of those? In other words, what was it last year?
4 cents. It's 4 cents.
4
on
cents
on
across.
everybody.
Yes.
The increase was then the general fund because we moved the 7 cents down to general debt service. And then that discussion. And needed to replace 4 cents. All the other funds have the same tax.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. I'm used to looking at, go ahead, Commissioner Kelly. Go ahead and speak.
Well, I wasn't sure if Virgil wasn't next on it, but I'll be glad to talk.
Okay. And then Commissioner Bricken?
Bobby, yeah, I think you asked a good question, and that's where would we look at taking something like this from? My biggest concern when I look at it is that we're having an increase. And part of that, and I realize it's a trade-off against revenue or projected revenue, but the biggest change in this is a 15% increase in the ambulance authority that includes hiring up extra people. Nobody else is hiring up that kind of people. And that's a pretty good chunk of change when you're looking at a 15% increase when everyone else is setting on what they had or losing money. I would look there first.
Okay. Commissioner Bricken, did you have anything else, or would you?
Well, gosh, I'm not sure. This is going to probably cover, but I certainly want to just be sure everyone follows kind of the budget steps. And of course, I'll be the first to say I hate any type of tax increase, and when we get down to $300,000 out of this size budget, you certainly would like to think we could find it. But I'm going to like to say we started with almost 20 cents. We're down to 4. We might be able to get another penny out, because I'm going to throw something back at Mariana in a minute. I'm not sure how she can do it tonight out of closing out the books, but whether it's 3 cents or 4 cents, which in a percent of the property tax, that's a 1% tax increase over last year's taxes, 1%. Had we not had the liability insurance and the workers' comp that came in 2 weeks ago, that a surprising $250,000, I think we would have been there. But after working down to that number and then all of a sudden being, I hate to say it, blindsided by $250,000, there's really not a lot of places to go against anyone's budget. There, we can sit here and do something across the board, and it's been suggested that we do away with step increases for the county employees for 2 years, and that would save about $150,000. That's the number. There, nobody's probably going to think that's a great idea, but that's the fairest across the board approach, because like I said, I don't know any county's individual budget that can handle that one, absorb that one amount, that $300,000, $360,000. Or we could take away the money funded for the schools, if anybody wants to have the appetite for that, and leave the $260,000 TVA money that we allocated to the schools. So if anybody wants to make that motion, we'll see how far it goes. So those are the kind of situations we're in. I think Mariana, as she gets close to month end, which is only 3 days away, she has found some funds that just less bills that came in toward the end of the year. And Mariana, you think that might be about a penny?
She knows it's a penny. So we're down to 3 cents.
That's going to be $290,000. I don't know if we're at a psychological point that we just want to say no tax increase, or 3 cents is just only 3 cents, which I hate that statement as bad as anybody else. But that's what we're at. I don't know. It's going to be the will of this commission to go after across the board something. And the only 2 places my experience will lead it to is someone's going to say we're going to take it out of the school's budget, or we're going to take it across the board of the county. So
The choices are, if I may add here, is blindsided again by the school buses. They need to be replaced. And the choice there is, as Rush said, move the TVA money back into the general fund, not fund school buses, and that takes away the spring sports for going to events. Is that from this point forward, things are going to be very painful. Is that a pain we want to accept? Putting the tax back on the employees with doing away with the step raises, when the school system still has their raises mandated by the state. So there's a fairness, there's a pain, and if somebody has a suggestion tonight that we can come back with, just to go back to budget and finance and go back through this same thing again, is probably going to be the same thing, spinning the wheels. We could pass a no tax increase budget, a levy tonight, and say lots of luck. Do what you have to do.
Okay. Commissioner Alford, then Commissioner Morris.
Just a point of information, or just to ask a question, and I'm not sure who would be the best. Rush, you might be, since you're chairman. But the $270,000 we're talking about with the TVA monies, is this a one-time fix for the school buses, or is this an 80-day thing now that we're giving it to the schools? Is this going to be an ongoing process?
It's an it's no ADA involved, but in there's a TVA, we already are sending certain, I can't remember, 500, does that sound right?
670.
670.
It's in the 600 range.
670 right now, Rush.
And we're proposing to go up to 60
259 or?
something. By annual agreement, that money can be pulled back out. So it's not a maintenance of effort dollars that we're incurring, but so we do have the means to pull that money out if the schools ever come across extra money and don't need the TVA money. Guys, got to be realistic when I make that kind of statement, okay? But it is possible to pull it back.
Commissioner Morris.
I just want to make sure that everybody understands that spring sports have already been told that next year there will be no bus service until after school. The $300,000 will buy 3 buses that will keep us in bus service for student services only. It's not to buy buses to carry spring sports at all. They already been alerted that we're going to be so low on buses that we're not going to be able to service them until 4:30 in the afternoon. So all this $300,000, we're losing 8 buses and buying 3. So we're dropping our fleet down.
Okay.
My concern is that, just as a rebuttal, not necessarily a rebuttal, a comment, because I want to make sure I'm understanding what the needs of the school is going to be going down the road from here. And also, you know, from when we talked last year about this, and we were talking about some of the monies that were being mentioned or asked for last year for buses, one of my comments is that we've allocated monies in the past for buses. What I would like to see from the school system, and certainly it's up to them to arrange their budget to meet their needs, but what I'd like to see is these funds that are appropriated for buses to go into a specific fund so that we don't have these types of requests every year, because we're constantly, as Ms. Moore says, we're constantly going to have buses being retired. So we need to really look through the whole process.
Okay. Commissioner Morris, then Commissioner Chance.
That was approved last month by the school board. There's a resolution setting aside $300,000 for school bus funds that cannot be removed. For the foreseeable future, if anybody'd like to come talk to me, I have an Excel spreadsheet of the buses, the expiration dates. We're going to be buying 3 buses for the next 15 years. I mean, that's where we're at. We're down. I've depleted them down. I've used all the old buses up. And I'm to the point that if I don't get buses by May the 25th of next year, I'm going to be out of business. I won't be able to service the county.
All right, Commissioner Chance.
I guess I wanted to just mention a few things. The comment was made, and it's not pointing fingers or anything, but to say it's only 3 cents is, I think it's not good enough. Over the past 6 or 8 weeks, I've visited with close to 1,300 homes across the county, and well over 95% of those homes are fed up with the taxes and believe that we've got too many taxes. Our taxes are too high. So I want to echo what Commissioner Kelly said a moment ago. If we're looking at, and it sounds like right now, Rush, is we're looking at $300,000. I want to echo what Commissioner Kelly said and say that really we need to examine the $300,000 increase with our EMS service, and if that's something that we can actually handle, and especially right now, given the publicity from the CTAS report, well, it sure doesn't look good throwing our $300,000 at a service that, from the top side, has gotten some really bad publicity from a report that was requested. So that's why I'd like to echo is what Commissioner Kelly had recommended on the EMS.
Go ahead, Commissioner Reed.
Just on that EMS issue, certainly their budget has an increase to add, and Commissioner Bradford certainly can feel free to jump in, but they raised their revenue by $150,000 to offset the
100, Commissioner.
100.
They talked 150, but we said 100.
It was 100, excuse me, to offset that additional cost. So, you know, their funding dollars at 5.8 cents. Again, if we cut their budget request for the manpower, then I assume we're going to have to cut the revenue side also, and therefore we're not going to net gain anything. And that's, I mean, this is, don't get me wrong, the EMS operation, it's been challenged and it will continue to be challenged until it is, in my mind, a break-even operation for this county. You know, I hope these steps it's taken is going to get there. But that's just, I don't think it's going to do, I don't think the net effect of cutting expenditures is going to gain us anything because it's going to be an offsetting revenue dollars. You know, Commissioner Bradford.
Well, and I can see what you're saying there, where it may not be a complete offset, but that's also an increase in revenue on paper, not actual revenue increase, correct? I mean, we're looking at a revenue increase on paper, not an actual collected revenue increase. This is a proposed increase in revenue.
It's projected.
Certainly projected. I mean, this is a, you know, quasi-public enterprise operation, and it's no different than somewhat like the sheriff or any of the court systems. They don't know exactly how many criminals or how many arrests or anything else they're going to get. Their statistics are pretty trend set, so you can kind of know that people are going to have accidents and EMS operations. So the trend lines of the last several months, certainly once they've got some things on the way, has shown improvements. So
one more question, I guess, or at least another one. Their estimated revenue for 11 and 12, or I guess for next year, is 1.8 million. What's the highest amount of revenue ever collected by EMS?
What?
This year.
For a fiscal year, not
She's
years
gonna-
combined,
she's
but
get-
for a fiscal year.
Mariana says 1.7.
And was that this current fiscal year, or was it a
That'll be
combination?
this year.
Okay, and now, was that any of the collections from that didn't come in from last year?
Just a small portion.
Small portion, she said, Commissioner.
Okay.
So, well, our attorney would like to.
Rush,
is-
Rush, you mentioned the increase, the $250,000 from insurance. Last meeting, we passed a resolution that the insurance personnel recommended in regard to that to alleviate. Will they give us any break based on that passage, or are we stuck with the same rate until we get a different year exposure?
I think we're stuck until they see a break in the claims movement. Mariana's probably had more discussion directly with them, but it's like most insurance ratings, whether it's commercial or personal, they've incurred a series of 5 years of losses in the loss ratios until they see that we have improved our risk management practices in claims reduced. I would not expect, it could be well over 1 or 2 years before we see a reduction, sadly.
So, Rush, in other words, when we're looking at the $300,000 increase in EMS expenditures, we're going to spend $300,000 to have an extra $150,000 in revenue. Is that what we're?
100, Commissioner.
So an extra 100 in revenue.
Yeah.
We're going to spend 300 to get an extra 100 in revenue.
300, yes. Now, Jimmy, you,
This year's budget's what, Commissioner Kelly? 2 million? What is it? What?
That's why we're saying, Rush, it don't make real good, you know.
Our budget last year was
projections are kinda
$2,080,000.
$2,080,000?
Of course, we didn't spend that. We came in under that budget, but this year we're asking for $2,305,000, so the difference is the two. And yes, there'll be a projection. There has to be a projection because we don't know exactly how much money we're going to bring in. You know, we feel comfortable with 1.7, bringing in 1.7 and 1.8 million dollars, but if we don't get the extra personnel, we will not bring that in. That's, you know, if we take a truck off the road, you know, we can't generate. And that's where we're trying to do, is trying to get to the positions that CTAS has recommended to us that things that we need to do, just like they recommended, you know, we need to do some more training on our management side, which we can't do this year because we don't have the money. So that's another thing that we got to wait till next year's budget to work on. As we all know, we got one shot, and that's once a year at budget time. And if we don't get it this year, we'll have to wait till next year. And we're all the same way. All department heads are the same way. So we're at a position that we're trying to generate more work and generate more calls and stuff. And we've been working hard, and Mayor Pennington's been working very hard with us too to go out and talk to these publics. But yes, we got to spend a little bit more to bring in a little bit less. But this is the move that we need to make to move forward. And I certainly hope you know, we leave that in the budget.
Well, something just a quick question, Commissioner Bradford, is the question about not having the money in the budget last year to do training. There's no increase in training budget from last year to this year. What exactly are we referring to?
Well, the CTAS is referring to that we need to do additional training, and additional training they're referring to is not just online training, but go to management classes that CTAS may offer, or Motlow may offer, MTSU offer. Those additional classes we didn't put in our budget for any extra money. In fact, some of our budget was reduced by $29,500 from our original budget, so we didn't get all we asked for originally anyways.
Right, I understand. I guess what I was looking at is the line item on here. It says training $12,000 last year, $12,000 next year, and we were just talking about not having money last year, and that's why we needed to increase money this year. And then on top of that, the other contracted services at $123,000 is just a question as well. But I just want to echo one more time exactly what Commissioner Kelly was saying, and I don't know that it's the public's will or the public sentiment to spend $300,000 to make $100,000, and I don't know any other venture that would do that, and in my private business I wouldn't do that. So, and as stewards of the money, we have to, of the public money, we have to keep that in consideration at all decision points.
And I understand that, and the one thing that I've said many times, and I echo again, your ambulance service, not mine, your ambulance service works as a nonprofit public service. We're trying to break even, but it's a nonprofit public service. Public services don't normally break even or make money, but we're trying, and we're trying to get there.
Commissioner Fan?
I would just like to say that the ambulance service, the ambulance company, they picked up about 1,500 more calls this year than last year. I don't mean to be rude, and I don't mean to be ugly to anybody on this commission. And I don't go to every committee meeting there is, but I do go to the committee meetings that I am on, and I try to go to some others. There are a couple on here that never went to any of the committee meetings, never come to caucus meetings, so I don't know how you know what's discussed at any committee meetings or caucuses when you come to a meeting.
I guess I'd like to know how that pertains to the budget, because that's what is the topic right now is the actual budget we're talking about. So I'd like to know how that pertains to the topic at hand.
Because when you go to budget meetings, all of this is discussed in there, and it's fine to discuss it out here, and the ambulances are, but when someone never goes to any committee meetings to hear any of the discussions.
That's why we have minutes, and that's why we have a
Well,
packet.
I think some people aren't
And some
always
people
reading the
just need
minutes.
to, you know, some people may need to go to minutes. If you need to go to meetings, then that's a blessing. But to make something like that and to say, well, this one doesn't go or that one goes, you know, that's inappropriate, and that's your opinion.
Well, I'd like
Okay,
to also, it is a fact that all of us were here and elected to do a job here, and we all have the same vote, regardless of whether or not someone believes you are validated by going to a meeting or not.
Oh, I'm not,
Um,
I don't say you're not validated if you don't go to a meeting. I am not for a property tax increase at all. I know what having to deal around a budget with this lawsuit I'm in with the guy who bought our yard and quit paying. But I know that, you know, the county needs to budget too. If you look at this rate, it's 2.62 total uniform tax rate. Okay, and I'm not against education either, but 1.6496 goes to education. The general fund is getting .7354, and then the ambulance is getting 5 cents, 84, and the general debt service is getting .1791. Maybe everybody's tried to cut, but maybe we're gonna have to cut some more, because I'm like you, I'm not for a tax increase. 3 cents on $100 is a lot of money to most people.
Well, Commissioner Fan, I'm glad that you say that, because before we even go any farther, I'm voting against the tax increase, and I'm voting against any budget that has a tax increase. I'm glad to hear that you're looking to do the same thing. Thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Alford?
Yeah, I want to refocus back to a couple of other areas. I want to, I guess, back to Rush.
Okay, let me just make sure everybody understands. We're talking about to refer back to Budget and Finance, this budget. So let's talk about that and...
And that's where I'm
Okay.
headed back to.
All right, thank you.
What would be the goal or agenda that you could set to go back and look at the various sections in the budget that has been reflected tonight through the discussion as far as our potential to see the 3 cents? And I know you reflected a little bit earlier, but that didn't get us to the 3 cents. So what would be the goal?
Hopefully everyone has probably put either business or family budgets together. You know, I usually look at the big items first and then work my way down, because if you're trying to find dollars, you know, if you're cutting out the $100, again, it will all mount up, and don't get me wrong on that, but certainly, the bigger departments can probably absorb bigger decreases than someone that, and I'm not going to pick on animal control because they've certainly been picked on a lot lately, but I don't think we're going to find it in animal control, okay? So I would certainly go for the bigger items. You know, some of the items that have estimates in it, and there are a lot of estimates and revenues, and Mariana does a marvelous job in projecting, and we don't want to over-project revenues and end up having to come through next year with amendments with revenue shortfalls. But I mean, you just go through and try to squeeze a little here or there. But that is the only strategy that you can do. I mean, based on the conversations here, certainly, if we want to and get Jimmy and Mariana, I think finally we're getting the best numbers with some good trend lines out of EMS that we ever had before. Now, if we can go through and we'll fine tune those, and maybe there's some dollars there, expense reductions and revenues. I know the sheriff and the jail would like to come through with some extra dollars. Trying to think of anybody else that's here that's willing to volunteer.
Okay.
Well, we're locked in to a maintenance of effort on the library. I don't think there's any increase in the library's funds. So we're just kind of locked into that number.
Okay, Sheriff, I think you shook your head when you said you've got yours cut down, ain't you? Yes. Okay, Commissioner Alford, did you have something else to say?
I just want to say, you know, sometimes we look at this and we say, well, and it does get very personal with all of us, because it does affect all of us, and it also affects every taxpayer in the county. And I do agree, and I appreciate all the you know, the gestures and everything out there as to how we could look at it and see what we can do with it. I know that hard work has been done through the budget and finance area. The reason I made the motion, for one reason, was because we were moving quickly to get an approval, and maybe it's only 3-4 cents, but it is 3 or 4 cents. And when we're voting that quick on a budget that affects taxpayers, I'm just really concerned. I think we need 3 or 4 cents from the past years of what we've already incurred. It makes me want to slow down and take a look at it. And I appreciate the efforts that
I
everyone's
have a
given.
comment. We were not trying to push a budget through. We were trying to get a budget out here.
Mariana, this wasn't about you.
So
There was a
I just want to
comment.
make a comment. We are trying to get
Okay.
a budget passed by the end of June. So when July's here, we can start a new budget with July.
Sure, and
we've
we've all.
been working on this budget since February.
Sure, and I understand
Okay.
that. And we're working on the taxpayers'
So-
dollars that pays for that budget. And
Mayor, myself, and Budget and Finance, we got it down to 3 cents, and we brought it to you tonight for suggestions. You just send it back.
I believe I said I appreciate all the hard work that you've done, but we're also working on monies that every citizen in this county works hard to pay their taxes, including me. And if you think I'm going to sit here and vote for a budget just because
You're
you've
not
had to work,
listening to me.
you have gotten paid for the work that you've
We
done.
brought it to you tonight, like Brush said, to see if y'all have any suggestions how we can lower the 3 cents. That's what we got it to.
Okay, any other discussion? If you vote yes,
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
Of course, as Rush is saying, it's a difficult process, and, you look for the larger items. I don't know if we got any glaring larger items, but the step raises on county employees, that sort of concerns me if we look toward that, because I feel that it tends to hurt the lower paid employees obviously more than anyone. And of course, if it's 150,000, it's 150,000. But the difficulty is sort of looking at the cost effectiveness of something, and there's a cost associated with anything we do. I just hate to see step raises taken from the county employees, because it's like across-the-board increases that we used to do years ago before we came up with the step and grade and the step raises, because that always tended to favor the higher paid employees and tended to hurt the lower paid employees. And I think going in and with the step raises would have a similar impact too, where it would hurt the lower paid employees even more so.
All right. Commissioner Patton, did you have something you wanted to say?
Step raises.
Okay, Commissioner Chance.
And I want to agree with what Commissioner Bryan's saying, especially when it comes to step raises. The only concern I have is sometimes when you factor the math on out, and this a particular step raise, maybe it results in a net gain of for a particular employee of, let's say, $200 per year. What happens when their taxes go up $250 to pay for that $200 raise? And that's the only thing that I try to look at it that way as well. But you're exactly right; it does hurt the lower paid employees, and we want to be cognizant of that. But what is the net impact to them as well? You can get a raise, but if your taxes go up to offset that raise greater than what the raise was, what have you raised? What have you gained? And I think we need to look at that as well sometimes.
Okay. Is everybody ready to vote? If they are, I'm going to explain one more time before we do. What we're voting on right now is a motion to refer back to Budget and Finance. So if you vote yes, you're voting to do that, and if you vote no, then we'll continue the budget process here. We'll be back on discussion on the budget. Okay, is everyone ready to vote? Let's vote, please. Okay, wait a minute.
After, if we vote this nay, vote it down, can that same referral come back up later?
The motion to refer can be made again.
Okay. Okay, does everybody understand that if you vote? Okay, everybody understands that they're voting? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Yes means that you want to refer it back. No means you want to continue the budget process. And Commissioner Fair. Is yours giving you trouble? Okay. Well, all right. Let's have the vote, please. Okay, since this vote passed, we've got to go to item G and vote on the Ms. Patton, you want to read that?
Resolution 2012-20, resolution to adopt a continuing budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2012, and authorize issuance of tax anticipation notes for Coffee County, Tennessee.
If necessary.
So moved,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
I move it be approved.
All right, we got a motion. Do we have a second? Second, okay. Any discussion? Okay, question been called. Let's vote on it, please. Yeah. All right, let's have the count, please. Okay. Okay. All right. Ms. Patton?
Number 12, statements and announcements.
Okay. We're down to commissioners first, and then if the audience wants to say something, you're welcome to, but we're going to have 1 minute per person because there's a lot of people in the audience. Any commissioners want to say anything first? Commissioner Byrd.
I have something I need to read, please. To the citizens of Coffee County, pardon me if my voice trembles a little. I recently concluded an extended stay in an area hospital to receive additional treatment for a disease I've battled for the past 20-plus years. As a result of this hospitalization and the 2 weeks recovery at home, I've been faced with the realities of my weaknesses and have had cause to reevaluate my priorities. The 2 years I've served as Coffee County Commissioner for the 20th District have been very stressful. As part of my reevaluation of priorities, I've decided to reduce my external stressors where possible. Therefore, effective immediately, I resign my position as Coffee County Commissioner for District 20. I regret not being able or capable of fulfilling my elected responsibilities. However, the well-being of my family and professional career must take precedence over any illusions I might have had regarding my abilities to execute the duties of so honorable an office under the current conditions. To continue in this capacity would be a disservice to me, my family, and all of the citizens of Coffee County. Respectfully and with sincere regrets, Christopher Byrd, former Coffee County Commissioner, District 20.
Yes, ma'am. Would you, be sure to go ahead and plug in the microphone.
I would just like to say I think you have been an outstanding commissioner. You have done with honesty for the caring of the people in the county, and you have done your job with so many headaches. I just thank you for your service.
Well, Commissioner, I have to say that I'd have to echo exactly what Ms. Fan said, and without you, I don't know where we'd be in this jail process. I know we're at the bat process, but you have really worked hard.
We'd still have bats in our belfry.
Yeah, we still got them. Commissioner Bricken?
Certainly, I'd just like to say I've had the pleasure of sitting by Chris and knowing Chris since he came on the commission. It takes a brave man and a strong man to just make that statement, and I'll surely miss you, and I think we all will.
Any other commissioners?
I'd like to reiterate the same sentiment. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I knew that jail thing was a huge job.
Yes.
Huge job, and I know Chris has been away from his family a lot, and
Yes.
and it takes a man to say when enough is enough, and when you know what you got to do, and I admire him for that.
Not only his family, but he took away, he's away from his job a lot too. Commissioner West?
I'd like to say, when they first appointed Chris, the chairman of that project, I thought, well, they're going to throw this young man under the bus. He's brand new at this. He jumped up there, grabbed hold of that wheel of that bus, and he's driven it right on up to the
He
top.
sure has. Any other commissioner would like to say anything?
Yeah, Mayor, I would. Chris, I really appreciate what you've done for this, particularly for our committee, and the things you've done for the commission here, and the things you've done to bring that jail online. That was probably the biggest job we're going to face in years, and you did a great job with it.
Mark, thank you very much. I do appreciate that more than I can express.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Morris?
I just want to tell you thank you for taking us where we're at. I don't think the jail would be where we were now, and I'm very proud to call you my friend, and we'll be talking a lot.
Any other commissioners? All right. Now, anybody from the
We'll
audience?
move that we have a resolution for the next.
I think, yes, maybe a double resolution for him there, since it did the jail also. Now, anybody in the audience, you're welcome to come up, but it's going to be 1 minute per person, because we're going to get out here and work on the budget. Anybody from the audience like to say anything? Come on up, ma'am. Come to the podium. Ken, you kind
My name is Gail Johnson. I'm of the 10th District, and I applaud you. Thank you very much, sir. You've kind of reassured my faith in this whole process. I was at the meeting Monday week ago when Mr. Duncan was presiding over the animal control issue, and he stated that he was going to head up an oversight committee of some sort dealing with the animal control situation, and I waited patiently to see if any of this was going to be brought up at tonight's meeting, and it wasn't. Is there a reason for that? Has anything been done? Or is this just being swept under the rug? I just would like to know.
I'll let the commissioner speak to that, and you can sit down, and we thank you. We'll let the commissioner speak to that.
I promise you, nothing will be swept under the rug. There should be already in the paper a meeting scheduled for tomorrow. It's in your paper. But the meeting
Thursday.
I'm sorry, I was thinking David. It's scheduled for Thursday.
At 5 o'clock?
At 5 o'clock. And that was the earliest we could schedule it, because of the time frame that we have to allow for when you put something that in the paper for public notification. So that's the earliest we could schedule a meeting. So it is scheduled for Thursday at 5 o'clock. And we will address the issue, and for what we think will make sure this doesn't happen again. And if there's any other things that we can look at that need addressing, we will address them also. But still, we're looking for public help. We're looking for your help. A lot of you are very close to the within the Humane Society or other animal organizations, and we look for your help with this. We want to make it as good as possible. So no, it's not being swept under the rug, and it's out there for everybody to see, and we're going to do something about it.
Okay. All right. As of right now, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, okay. You got a comment?
Yeah, I need to, I guess, just be sure we can publicly, we need to schedule a budget and finance meeting, and Roxanne, I'm not sure what your calendar, but we either have Thursday or next Monday. Those are only two dates I can, so I'm asking budget and finance if they want to try to, I don't know what kind of conflicts we might have for those two nights.
Are you talking about this coming Thursday?
This coming Thursday or
next Monday?
Because the following, we got the 4th on a Wednesday, and I'm gone the rest of after the 4th for 2 days, so.
We have Health, Welfare, and Recreation at 5 o'clock on Thursday.
Pardon?
So we have Health, Welfare, and Recreation on Thursday at 5 o'clock.
Is there any real Budget and Finance members on welfare?
No,
Okay.
there is not.
So we can have a separate meeting
This Thursday? Thursday?
Thursday.
Robin, Thursday?
Pardon me?
Lee?
Can we make the Roxanne, can we?
Really need to wait till Monday.
Because of the time.
Notices.
Public
We need
notice.
to wait till Monday. That would be the right. You want to do it Monday at 5 o'clock?
Monday at 5? Okay. All right. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, stand up, please.